God our Father, we give thanks tonight for the work done in the past year by members and officers of this council, and especially the chairmanship of Councillor Catherine Lomax. We pray for her successor, Councillor Deanna Eden. We pray also tonight for our police, for their fight against crime, dealing with reduced budgets, for their engagement with society and with the councils of this area. And we pray also for those helping young people in our district, especially in our schools and with the voluntary groups, thinking especially tonight of the Scout and Guide movement. We ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
Item 3 on the agenda, and 3A.
Chairman, this is my return to members from the recent election on the 2nd of May. It is here for members to note. All the declarations were made in accordance with this.
And declarations of acceptance of office.
Chairman, we have all declarations and acceptance of office bar one, and there's been a change this evening. So if he does come, we can go through that. Without that declaration, we don't count parts in any of the
It's my pleasure to welcome our 12 new members. When I say new, of course, some of you are entirely new, and I hope you will enjoy the experience of being a member of this council. But we also have people who are returning after the break and people who have been successful at the elections in May. So welcome to you all. Do take part in the council fully and enjoy your term of office. Thank you. I move the certificate and return of the returning officer.
Chairman, that was a document I referred to earlier, and it really is just here for members to note.
Thank you. We move to item 4, election of chairman.
Chairman, I would like to propose that Councillor Deanna Eden is chairman for the year. I had the last year I was able to propose as the vice chairman, and I think I said there I know her husband better because we live 150 yards from each other and we went to school together. So know her husband very, very well. But Councillor Deanna Eden was a very active member of planning committee, and for those that don't know her, she's not afraid to, if there's 150 people in the room and she believes the 150 people are wrong, she will say so. She believes the officers are right, she will say so. And she believes that 90% of the time as well, 99% of the time. If she thinks that he's wrong, she will say so. And believe me, that's the kind of person I like, especially in a woman. She will make an excellent chairman, she will be fair, she is respected, and she will make very, very good decisions. I have no problem at all in proposing Councillor Deanna as chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Osborne. Do you have a second for that proposal? Thank you. Do you wish to say anything?
Thank you. During my previous tenure on the council and now the beginning of my second tenure, I've worked closely with Diana, as members of the planning committee in particular, and I've also worked with her closely from a party point of view. And I've really enjoyed her company, and I trust her judgment implicitly. And there's a couple of old Daventry people. We know what's right and what's wrong. So I welcome this change. I really hope this has a very, very successful year. I shall certainly support it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other nominations? No. And in that case, the proposition is that Councillor Diana Eden is elected as our next chairman. Are those in favour?
Great.
You might have to sit down. This is a very difficult manoeuvre. For those of you who have not been fortunate enough to wear this chain, it really is a very difficult thing to deal with, particularly if you're a lady. And wear lighter garments.
Having been elected to the office of Chairman of Daventry District Council, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. Yep.
Thank you much indeed, Chairman. I want to wish you all the very best in the year ahead, and I hope you have a successful year like the predecessor has. It's a pleasure to actually give a vote of thanks to our former Chairman now, Councillor Catherine Lomax. I first came across Councillor Lomax when she was in administration and we were in opposition. And that's going back in 1998, you might well remember it, Councillor Lomax. I just want to say actually, Councillor Lomax is an excellent councillor, even though she's in opposition to us all those years, apart from maybe one or two when we went by AWOL. I just want to say that it's been a pleasure. You've been a great advocate for our district actually. I had feedback from all over about how well you've done on this year's your chairmanship. People have really been impressed with you. I've seen you in action myself at events, and I think you should take great credit. You're a great advocate for this council, for this district. Because when you are a chairman of this council, you actually are the first citizen of the district, and I think, Catherine, you fulfilled that role absolutely 100% perfectly. Which means, of course, there isn't much to say on the downside. And I always like to have a little story now and again. One thing I would say, though, I have been told this, and you probably confirm it right or not, your husband used to wander apparently and disappear. We used to go to events, and all of a sudden you find out Brian has disappeared, and they had to send out the search parties. So, presumably now you're no longer chairman, you've got him on the lead and keep him close to you, you'll be fine. No, but seriously, I think it's important that you're having a great advocate, Catherine, and I say well done to you. You've done lots of good fundraisers as well over the year, which no doubt we'll come on to. And I just want to say on behalf of this council, very well done, and a great vote of thanks to you. Thank you.
Can I have a second on that?
Yes, Madam Chairman. Happy to second it, and like Councillor Over, I proposed Councillor Lomax last year. I think part of what I said was that she was the epitome of a lady. There is no party politics involved. She's always promoted Daventry, and in particular education, and fought for the right of everybody with no party politics. However, with recent elections, I dare say she'll be going after Nick Clegg's job now. I was going to say a few words about Brian, but then I found that I couldn't, so I won't. But Madam Chairman, you have been absolutely splendid. Well done and thank you.
Can I now ask for that proposition to be approved? Sorry.
Wendy. No, I just wanted also to add my vote of thanks to Councillor Lomax. She's been an extreme help to both myself and Councillor Campbell, as we were very new to this role, so we looked on Catherine for guidance and help. So thank you for that, Catherine. You've been an amazing chairman. I've got great respect for you, and as well as Brian. And I met you in quite a few functions over the last year. And yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
Can I please ask for that proposition to be
Agreed.
First of all, thank you very much for your kind and generous words, Councillor Miller and Councillor Ford. I have quite a number of thank yous to give myself, so I'll that. But first of all, I have to congratulate Councillor Edmund, my friend Deanna, on her election to the chairmanship. And I know that she's going to enjoy it. I know that she's going to be an excellent chairman. And I know that Chris will give her every support. And indeed, he will be a very good consul as well. So many congratulations on your election, Diana. And have a wonderful year. I have to say that it's been a privilege and an honour to serve this council and this district, Mr. Chairman. In total, I've undertaken 108 engagements on behalf of the council, quite a lot. All have been memorable for one reason or another, and it's been a year of several significant commemorations, and I think I've been very fortunate to have been the chairman while that has been the case, because there have been some excellent ceremonies that I've been able to attend with Brian, and that's also been a great honour. to represent the council at those. I've taken great pleasure in meeting many young people during the course of the year, in schools, in uniformed organisations and youth clubs. The year has given me the opportunity to meet and thank many volunteers, both in the town and in our villages. And it's they who make such a difference to all our communities. It is they who help to build the quality of life which we all want to see in the district. It makes it all a very much better place to live for the efforts that volunteers put in. One of the other events that I've actually enjoyed very much is when I've had the opportunity to thank our loyal and long-serving officers, our staff members, at the Long Service Awards ceremonies twice a year. And it's been a real pleasure to be able to talk to officers about their jobs and to thank them for all the loyalty they have given and all the work they've given to the council. In fact, I thank everybody at the council for their support. Everybody has been extremely helpful during the year. And I particularly want to mention Sue, who's of course no longer at the council, Fiona and Amy, for organising me. Not a particularly easy task. Sometimes it's very much against the odds. And to Doug, without whom no chairman's year is complete. And I only wish, and I'll warn Deanna now, whatever time he is supposed to come, he's always early. So you're always wrong-footed. So but don't worry, he'll get you to your destination on time. It's actually Dementia Week, National Dementia Week this week. And this afternoon I was very pleased to be able to present a cheque for £3,142 to the Alzheimer's Society to support sufferers and their carers locally. And so I hope during the course of the next few months I'll hear exactly what they've done with that money, so that we are sure that in fact it's been put to good use as I'm afraid it will be. It will be, of course. And I thank all of you who have contributed towards that total. Well, that's all, folks. I will now retire to the back benches and obscurity.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. First of all, congratulations on assuming the role of Chairman. I agree with all the comments made. I think you make a very good Chairman, and I wish you well in the this coming year. First of all, I'm delighted to propose Councillor Alan Chandler to the role of Vice Chairman. Alan is already playing a very significant role on the District Council. Firstly, as District Councillor for Yeovertoft Ward, but in his other roles, i.e. Strategic Planning Portfolio Holder, Neighbourhood Planning Champion, Heritage Champion and Disability Champion. Needless to say, I think it would be right good if he was made Vice Chairman. I know that he would fulfil the role both diligently and honestly. His knowledge will assist him in the role, and I'm also certain that he will be able to assist our chairman and be an able deputy in the vice chairman's role. Councillors, I move my proposal, Councillor Alan Chalter as vice chairman.
Could I ask if we have a second for that, please? Would you like to speak?
I'd just like to say, have fun in the next year. I'm sure you will. Thank you.
Can I ask if there are any other nominations?
I, Alan Chalter, having been elected to the office of Vice Chairman of Daventry District Council, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. Yes. Be surprised what I keep in my lap. I have a pen.
Councillor Nick Bunting, would you like to come up and make your declaration now before we go further?
Yes, Chair. Very happy to do so. Let me bring it back as well.
So if you forgive me while I screech. I, Nicholas John Bunting, having been elected to the office of Member of Daventry District Council, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability.
Do we have any apologies for absence?
One from the Conservative Group, Councillor Patrick, who's currently at the down at Buckingham Palace.
Chairman, can I give apologies, please, for Councillor Mike Warren as well?
Is it your you all wish that I sign the minutes of the meeting of the council held on 26th February 2015?
Agreed.
Do we have any declaration of members' interests, any disclosure of interests, and the nature of such interests in any of the following agenda items? Right, this is where I go home. Firstly, I would like to say a personal thank you to Catherine Lomax for all the work that she's undertaken during the last 12 months. Also, thank you to her husband Brian for the support that he has given her in her chairman's role. Catherine, it's been a pleasure to work with you. You've been such a great ambassador for this council, whether you've been visiting other councils and organisations or presenting events of your own. I would like to think that my coming year will be as varied and as successful as yours has been. This year I'm looking forward to representing and promoting our council, not only at events in other towns in the county and beyond, but also hopefully to be able to visit schools, residential homes and organisations across our Daventry district, and to talk to a great variety of people, young and old, that this will bring me into contact with. I had been debating for a while on what to include in my speech, but then about 2 months ago, a colleague solved the problem for me. He told me, jokingly I hope, that I was a townie who knew nothing about the ways of the countryside. Later, it started me thinking that many people who have come to live in our district over the last few years only know Daventry as it is now, not realising that it has grown tremendously since I was a child in the 1940s. Historically, Daventry started as a small Anglo-Saxon village established around the year 920. It was granted market town status in 1255 and later granted borough status by Queen Elizabeth I in 1576. In 1645, Charles I stayed at the Winchip Inn while his army camped on Borough Hill before the Battle of Naseby. The late 18th century and the first half of the 19th century saw Daventry as an important coaching town, with, at one stage, as many as 252 stagecoaches per week passing through or staying overnight in the town's inns. Looking after the customers, staff and horses, also making saddles, boots and whips gave employment to local people. But the coming of the railways, which bypassed Daventry, made travel easier and quicker, and the coaching business and Daventry went into a decline, leaving many people without work. The years that followed found the town at a standstill until 1925, when the new British Broadcasting Company decided that Borough Hill was the ideal place for their new transmitting station, as this high point had the maximum contact with the landmass of England and Wales. And for a number of years, Daventry could boast that they were the world's biggest broadcasting station, and the call sign Daventry Calling was born. Going back to the 1940s, I was born in my grandparents' house in Braunston Road. At this time, the town was still very small, but densely populated, with houses slowly beginning to appear along roads that led away from the town centre. And although Braunston Road is now well within the town, when I was small, the views from the house were mainly fields. Perhaps because of our checkered history, at that time we had a combined infants and junior school, a secondary modern school, a grammar school which was founded in 1576 by William Parker, a woolen draper who lived in London but was a native of Daventry. We had a railway with a station, 2 cinemas, a busy cattle market and a thriving shopping centre. At the age of 4, I started my schooling at Abbey Infant School and Junior School, followed by Daventry Grammar School, where I first met a young 12-year-old by the name of Chris Evans, who lived in Buckley, because then, as now, children came into Daventry for the next stage of their education. At the same time, in the 1950s, new houses and flats for local families were built in the fields opposite my grandparents' house, and this became the Broadston Road estate. 1955 saw the arrival from Birmingham of the British Tinkin Company, and the housing estate, renamed the Headlands, was extended to accommodate the workers that came with the firm. By 1961, population had increased to nearly 6,000. This was the time that the Daventry Development Committee was created, with Northampton County Council, Birmingham County Council, and Daventry Borough Council, with an agenda that would include roads, houses, industrial estates, schools and libraries, etc., and would continue until 1986. At that time, the population was due to rise to about 40,000, hence the reason why our perimeter roads are wide enough to take dual carriageways and flyovers. Other fields where my generation played slowly disappeared, becoming the Inlands, Slade, and soon the Grange, Southbrook and Stephenhill estates. At the same time came industry, among them Fords, Calvert Ingersolls, later taken over by Cummings, Green Shield, and many smaller firms who settled into the Royal Oak Industrial Estate to the north of the town. To the south was the largest industrial estate, which was soon filled, and by the mid-70s our population was approximately 15,500. Also in the 70s, nearly all of the new streets, along with other buildings behind Shoe Street and High Street, were demolished, and the Bowen Square shopping precinct and the police station were built. By now my own family was growing, and when they were old enough they went to some of the new schools that had been built to accommodate our growth. In 1974, Daventry District was created with the amalgamation of Daventry Borough, Brixworth Rural District and Daventry Rural Area. After nearly 400 years, our borough status had ended. 1986 saw the Daventry Town Development Committee hold its last meeting when Birmingham decided to leave, but they left us with a revitalised town and a population figure of 18,000. The next few years saw the development of the Drayton Industrial Park, followed by the Harpins Business Park. But at the same time, the housing estate of Ashby Fields was started, to be followed by Lamb Farm, Middlemore, and the Timken estate. The last one built on the site of the now closed British Tinkin Company. The growth has continued to the present day, with our population rising to 25,431 by 2013. And due to our positive agenda and the pledged investment, will continue to keep our district at the forefront of a place to work, invest and live. After many decades, I am proud to have lived and raised family here. I am a Daventry through and through. My chosen charity for this year is Pete Spencer's Helping Hands Memorial Fund. Some of you will already be familiar with this local charity, but for those who are not, Pete Spencer was a photographer working for the Weekly Express when in 1980 formed a charity called Helping Hands after meeting a young boy who later died of his illness. From then on, until the day he himself died, Pete arranged for day trips, holidays and special events for many local children who suffered from life-changing illnesses. After Pete died, Pete's son Ian decided to keep the charity going, changing the name to commemorate the work that Pete had undertaken by providing specialist equipment and arranging special days out for local serious ill children and children with disabilities. With the special needs school planned for Daventry, I believe that there is a chance that we might find more parents in the district who have children that might benefit from Ian's help. Any amount of money that we raise over the next 12 months could make a difference to some child's life. Item 11, the announcement of group leaders and deputy group leaders. Oh, sorry. you have to excuse me. I do not have any chairman's notices at the moment.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. On behalf of the Conservative Group, I'm the leader and Councillor Strickland's the deputy leader.
On behalf of the Labour Group, myself will be the leader of the Labour Group and Councillor Campbell will be the deputy.
Thank you, Chairman. On behalf of you, Sean Collins will be the leader and Nigel Powell will be the deputy.
Thank you very much.
I've had enough obscurity already. So just to remind you that the non-group Liberal Democrats are here.
Constitution of committees. Could I ask group leaders to propose the committee members for their groups, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I'd like to propose the Conservative group members for the committees as shown on the sheet. Chairman, any members are happy to?
Excuse me, Chair. And yes, I'm happy for our group to give us the function.
Thank you, Chairman. Again, we are happy with this.
Thank you very much. Do you all agree to those? Representatives on outside bodies. Consider the appointment to outside bodies, which you will find on 27th. I believe you all have a copy in front of you. So you can see what's on there. Councillor Miller, would you like to say something?
Well, I wasn't going to read them all out unless you wanted to, Madam Chairman. But, I was going to say, can we have them propose the show? And we'll obviously take any questions about it.
Thank you. Do I have a second for that? Thank you, Councillor Osmond. Yes, Councillor.
A question, please, Madam Chairman. I thought that last year, unless I haven't read it properly, that the Rugby Borough Council, Daventry District Council Crematorium Committee appeared on this sheet.
Election.
Oh,
Come back, we'll do it. On this one, yeah.
oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
And you are on there.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. I understand, looking at last year's agenda, the same as this year's agenda, that all outside bodies, it was recommended that they would submit a report. I wasn't sure if they're submitted at this council meeting this evening or whether they should have appeared beforehand. So I wondered if you could just clarify that for me, please.
I deal with the Chairman in the sense that it was a desirable aspiration of the Council. I don't think we have any received. It wouldn't necessarily be presented to the Council in the formal meeting, but it could be circulated. But it was a desire rather than...
If I may, Chairman, I say that when I've attended some of these meetings with outside organisations, I have sent emails through addressed to all councillors. I've done that after I've attended the meetings.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the only reason I asked the question is actually on some of these outside bodies it would be really useful actually to have some feedback, you know, on what we are sitting on these outside bodies doing. So, you know, I think it would be really useful and perhaps, you know, ready for well, over the course of the year, perhaps if people are attending these meetings, they could submit a report so we know what's going on and if it's something that needs to be brought to the attention of council. Thank you, Chairman.
Can I ask councillors if they will agree to the recommendation that you find there, recommend that representatives on each body submit a written report in respect of the activities of the body to which they are appointed at the end of the municipal year 2015-16.
Can I just say something, Chairman, that please, if I may? Can I just say on that point, the point about that is it's a year down the line, and I just think sometimes that when you're on outside bodies, if there's something of particular interest and note, I think then it's quite nice to let members know what's going on, if the council member wants. But I wouldn't say all meetings actually are that interesting, and therefore it's about trying to get the balance right and have a particular issue that members think will be relevant for all members. I think it's probably best to share that near the time of the meeting, rather than waiting to the end of the year report, which is just, in some ways, just administrative report. I think it's quite important to get the information out sooner. So what I was going to suggest, Madam Chairman, was if we're happy, if members who are on outside bodies, and I include myself, because I'm on a few, then if we think there's any information that's worth informing the rest of the council about, that we do so. And at the time or thereabouts in that meeting. I think that'd be a better way of doing it, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Two things. First of all, as Chairman of Licensing, and I go off onto licensing conferences, etc., and always try to inform members of the findings I get from those outings. Secondly, please, can I just clarify, I have been a member of the Daventry Town Development Implementation Working Group, almost, well, since it started really, but my name appears to be missing this time. If it's possible, can I please be added back on?
I support that, Chairman.
It's on the back page of the committee membership. Thank you, Chairman.
Can I ask that you agree to the membership of the committees apart from that one slight change?
Agreed.
Questions under council procedure rules 10.11. Do we have any questions from members of the public, please?
Not advised, Chairman.
Do we have any questions from members of the council?
We have 3 questions from members of council.
I've got 2 questions to ask. Do you want me to ask them together, or do you want me to ask one and then get a response and then ask the second? Right, okay. So the first question that I'll be asking is, will this council consider bringing the enterprise contract back in-house? And my question will be to Councillor Miller.
Chairman, I'm going to answer the other 2, but I'll let Councillor Guilford answer that one.
Thank you, Chair. The Council has a contract with Enterprise, now part of the AIM Group, which runs till early June 2018. We expect the Enterprise aiming to fulfil its contractual obligations. Looking to the future, past June 2018, all options are open. We will do the right thing for the people of Daventry, whether this involves another outsourced contract, a shared service, a return to an in-house operation, or even a combination of any of these.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll just come back just to say the reason that I did ask that question was because I had quite a few members of the public approach me to say that they had heard that the refuse side of the contract was being brought back in-house later on this year. So just want some real clarification back. To obviously there's rumours written around, so at least now that we know that it won't be before the end of 2008. Shall I go on to the next question?
Yes, please.
Right. So the next question is, will this council consider asking the council to reconsider the opening times of the Daventry Recycling Centre? And again, my question to Councillor Miller.
Chairman, I thank Councillor Randall for the question. As most members will know, but many of the public won't know, is that whilst DDC provides the household waste collection services, we are not responsible for the household waste sites, including those at Daventry and Brixworth. I recognise the financial challenges that NCC are facing, which has probably led to this decision to reduce the opening hours. However, I have been made aware, not just through Councillor Randall's question, but also other members of this council and members of the public, there have been one or two issues around the household waste recycling centre in Daventry in particular. So I'm more than happy to write to the cabinet member at NCC, Councillor Michael Clark, to actually ask him to reconsider their decision. So I'm happy to do that on behalf of the council.
Yes, and the reason that I put this question forward was the fact that many residents had contacted me saying the problems that they are experiencing along Browns Road. I've been monitoring the cameras because they've got cameras showing on the County Council website of all the sites now for the last 8 weeks, and our recycling closes on a Wednesday and Thursday, exactly the same day as Northampton. Some people have left here, gone to Northampton to find that tip is closed. So having watched the cameras, at times there are more than 30 cars. How the camera is aimed just inside the gate of the tip. So as the gate's open, you can just continuously, the cars are just continuously coming through. And at times there's been over 30 cars entering that tip. So what's happening is they're queuing along Browns Road. Sometimes they're back as far as the roundabout. I've been into the businesses to see if it's causing a problem. And they've said that what is causing a problem is the cars where they're queuing, they appear to be parked. Other cars are coming past to use other businesses or to access the Indoor Bowls Club, and drivers are jumping out of their cars because they feel that people are queue jumping to get into the tip.
A supplementary question, not a statement.
Oh right, okay. So the other thing I was going to ask, even if they could turn the camera around rather than placing it inside the tip to look back along the road, then they would be able to witness the problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I mean, the information that Councillor Randall's just said is I'm aware of, and I think it's important to actually advise the Council of the impact of their two-day closure. It's normally on a Friday, because it's closed Wednesday and Thursday. So I think we can add that information in, and the suggestion that Councillor Randall has, I have no problem with, if that will solve the problem, but obviously I think the Council should look at it as a whole, and then decide what we should do. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Abigail Campbell.
My husband also directed it. Councillor Miller. The new homes bonus aims to ensure that the economic benefits of growth are returned to the local authorities and communities where that growth takes place. So will this council consider ring-fencing a proportion of future new homes bonus money to support the work of the voluntary and community sector across our district?
Chairman, I thank Councillor Campbell for that question. New homes bonus, of course, as you be aware, forms part of our core service budget at the moment, and as things currently stand, and obviously the benefits of new homes bonus should actually go back into the areas where they're experiencing major growth. Of course, Daventry Town is one of those areas, and other areas around our district are also experiencing that growth, including many villages, as we know. So one of the things I would say, though, Councillor Campbell, in response to that question about the voluntary service and what have you, as it's part of our core funding, Chairman, we do actually operate a range of grants and commission opportunities with support of the voluntary and community services sector. We also seek to ensure that council contracts are open to bids from the voluntary and community sector, as well as small and local businesses. The corporate procurement strategy account, which we'll be asking to approve later on in this meeting, seeks to help that process further. So I think in a way we're actually trying to do what you're suggesting, but I take on board the point you're making. It's quite right that with growth coming, and we are in a great growth area here, that we should ensure the community voluntary sector also gets some support. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, yes. Yeah, I think, thank you very much for the answer. I think we're all aware that the voluntary community sector has suffered significant cuts, which have hit the very
behalf particularly the Daventry Volunteer Centre. And we're all aware that the Daventry Volunteer Centre and the voluntary sector help some of the most needy people in our district. And I think we need to be more imaginative about the ways we try and fund them. And so can I ask at least that this council take serious consideration, in addition to what you've specified in your answer, as to how we support that sector. Otherwise we may be turning around in a few months' time and find we don't have a sector to support. So I think it's a more serious issue than you might suggest in the answer. And I think New Homes Bonus money is used elsewhere in other local authorities to specifically support that sector in recognition of the fact that it is being cut and it's hit hard. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman. Now, I'm very happy, Councillor Campbell. I'm very glad to hear, actually. I was in the Daventry Volunteer Centre only a few days ago, getting the lowdown myself, so I had to look face-to-face. But the point I was saying is I'll ask Councillor Hills, who's the portfolio holder responsible for that area, to look into what we can do to try and improve the situation. But clearly, as I said before, we are actually doing our very best to support the voluntary sector, notwithstanding, as you say, we are actually trying to look after the most vulnerable in our society, and therefore I hope we can do the best we can to support those functions. Thank you, Chairman.
Right, next item is item 15, reports of committees. These are for information purposes only. Is it your wish that we approve these en bloc? Recommendations of committees, which will be found on page 83. Is P 20/15, the adoption of local requirements for validation of planning applications.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This is a very straightforward matter. Members will be aware that we are in the process of preparing for the adoption of community infrastructure levy, and in order to be fully prepared for that, we're asking that applicants should accompany the usual application documentation with the necessary additional information for community infrastructure levy to help the officers deal with it. So it's a simple recommendation that the Council affirms the adoption of the altered local planning requirement.
Do I have a proposal for that?
I'll second this, Chairman.
Sorry. You're seconding, sorry. I will go there. Right. Do we have agreement with that?
Agreed.
Thank you. Next item is SU 22/15/01, investors in the environmental promotion.
Thank you, Chair. The Investment in the Environment Scheme is a not-for-profit environmental protection scheme designed to help the business sector save money and reduce impacts on the environment. Organisations of all sizes, including large corporations, small to medium-sized enterprises, public sector and the third sector, have adopted it on a national and international level. We are currently accredited. There is now an opportunity to encourage members of the wider community to promote action on the theme of corporate social responsibility and to raise awareness of its agenda overall. I therefore ask you to approve the recommendation that the investors in the environment accreditation be promoted to the wider community as outlined in the strategy.
Yes.
Madam Chairman, I didn't sign up, but I'll give it my wholehearted second. Thank you.
You're not seconding it? Sorry.
Yeah. Absolutely, Madam Chair. Secondly, I think it's a fantastic idea, and we should give it our full support.
In that case, then do I have agreement on this?
Agreed.
SG 23/15/01, shared parent leave policy. Sorry, Councillor.
Thank you, Chairman. We have a very long and detailed report on this strategy grid. There's a lot of interest in how complex it was, but it is very important that although we have this maternity pay scheme, occupational maternity pay scheme already paying above the statutory minimum, that it is considered that to pay the statutory minimum for shared parental leave to male employees would leave the council open to challenge of discrimination. We're very fortunate that our officers have been very far-sighted and cautious when drawing up this document, and I ask members to support it.
Do we have a second? Do I have agreement on this?
Agreed.
SG 24/15/01, scrutiny improvement task panel on contracting with other local authorities. Councillor Ron, I believe you're leading.
Thank you, Chairman. In my capacity as Vice Chairman of the Scrutiny and Improvement Committee, I led a task panel regarding the contracts that Daventry has made with other local authorities, particularly focusing on the contract with Rugby Borough Council for the crematorium. There are a number of recommendations from the review. One, that the aspects noted within the report which relate to procurement be considered in the preparation of the corporate procurement strategy for 2015 to 2018, and the procurement toolkit as appropriate. The project management aspects noted within the report be considered in the revisions of the DDC project management methodology. It's pleasing to be able to report to members that in relationship to the corporate procurement strategy, this has already been actioned, and some work is already undertaken on the project management methodology. I therefore seek members' agreement to these recommendations at this particular time. Thank you, Chairman.
Do I have a second? Councillor Wilming.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to, as Chairman of the Scrutiny Committee, I'd like to thank Councillor Long for the piece of work here. And it focused on a particular case study, as Councillor Long mentioned. And within that we found some very interesting learnings about a project well executed, but actually will give us a significant template to follow as we go forward with opportunities, particularly as we have to think much more creatively in the future about partnerships. So I would be happy to support this piece of work, and again thank Councillor Long for his hard work.
Do we have agreement on that then?
Agreed.
SG 24/15/02, scrutiny improvement task panel on corporate strategic plan performance reporting. Sorry. Councillor Howard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At the strategy meeting on the 9th of April, members' attention was drawn to the proposed reformat of the corporate strategic plan set out on page 115 of the agenda. This showed performance data in a bar chart form and targets as a line bar chart. It's hoped that this would enhance the comprehensibility of the data for all users. It is therefore I recommend that the recommendations of the Scrutiny and Improvement Committee, as modified in the set up of the third column of Table 1 of the Strategy Group report, are adopted. I have the difference between the bar charts here, so that new members would like to see later on this evening.
Do we have a second for that? Councillor Morgan.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. On this particular project, again, this is Cambridge Scrutiny, and Councillor Randall led the project, so thank you, Councillor Randall, for leading the project. We had a number of councillors in who we had testimonials from about the performance and how it was reported. We felt actually as a committee that we didn't necessarily have enough either granularity in the information that was provided to really enable us to have a sound basis for doing scrutiny assignments. And so Councillor Randall led this project team, and we're pleased actually to have this proposed from Councillor Howard, and I think we'll find it much more effective in understanding how we can scrutinise performance on the years to come. And I would happily second this proposal. Thank you.
Do we have agreement on that?
Agreed.
Next item is SG24/15/03, Data Protection Policy and Manual.
Thank you, Chairman. This was discussed at our strategy group meeting on the 9th of April. The recommendation is fairly straightforward before you. One thing I'd like to just mention is that following an internal audit process, it was recommended that all staff receive training every 2 years in this matter to keep them up to date. So I'll put the recommendation before Council. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This is a subject I used to teach at the university. It was very pleasing to go through the revised policy and manual with the staff, and it's good to see that yet again Daventry is leading the way by being up to date and keeping yourself up to date and doing so in public. I recommend it as a good read for anybody who's wanting to be sure that the information the Council collects about you is used in accordance with the provisions of the Act. I'm happy to second the proposal.
Thank you, Councillor Chairman. Is everyone in agreement?
Agreed.
Next item is SG24/15/04, rescindment of strategies. Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Chairman. Very quickly, this is just purely a housekeeping exercise, which I think is before you as detailed in the recommendation. So I propose it to Council, Chairman.
Seconder. Councillor Long. Do you wish to speak?
No.
Okay, thank you. Do we have agreement on that?
Agreed.
Next item, SG26/15/02, Hackney Carriage and Private Hire Licensing Policy and Conditions. Councillor Carter.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This came to strategy group on the 9th of April. Licensing officers, while tearing their hair out, came up with a new policy. Members will know that this whole issue is currently going through Parliament. It's still not resolved under the title of the deregulation of the taxi regulations. The policy as we've come up with could be and probably will be subject to minor changes until the whole thing is settled in stone by Westminster, and therefore the recommendation is that we adopt the policy as it stands at the moment, and that the licensing authority delegates authority to the community manager in consultation with the licensing chair and possibly all members of the licensing committee to agree any minor amendments. Thank you, Chair.
Do we have a second for that? Councillor Long? Do we have agreement on that?
Agreed.
SG27/15/01, Corporate Procurement Strategy 2015-2018. Councillor Long.
Thank you, Chairman. I referred to this document in my previous submission to Council regarding the S&I review and contracting with other local authorities. As previously noted, this document has taken into account those recommendations. I therefore ask Council to agree the recommendation that the proposed Corporate Procurement Strategy 2015-18 as annexed to the Strategy Group report be adopted. Thank you, Chairman.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Moore. Do we have agreement?
Agreed.
No, sorry. Councillor Benson.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Seems like old times. Never gone away. I just wanted to raise a point because on 24/15/02, 24/15/03 and on 27/15/01 we've had references to documents and page numbers in these areas, which for new members or retreads like myself, we have no idea about the references. Could I ask that the officers provide us with these documents, please, so we have an opportunity to scrutinise them? Otherwise, we're coming here representing our wards and constituents with very little knowledge about the recommendations that we're being asked to vote on tonight. And it is just a general point in terms of the way in which the background papers are presented to the new members and the retreads in particular, so that we can come up to speed as quickly as possible. Thank you very much.
Yes, I'm going to come back on that actually. Whilst I accept Councillor Bunting's point, the point is also that members have to take some initiative in terms, if they feel they haven't got enough papers there, bearing in mind these papers relate perhaps to a strategy group meeting in April, which they can find on Daventry, or they can find it, ask the officers for those papers. I suggest that members, if they feel they haven't got enough information before they come to a meeting, they actually get the information which is on the record anyway, and read it out before they come to this meeting, and then feel fully briefed. It's not a criticism, it's just a point I'm making. I think some initiative can sometimes help in these situations. Because obviously the audit is on the record on April 9th, and therefore I think and then if you have any questions, they can ask officers before the meeting on any further points they want to follow up. So I'm not criticising what Councillor Bunting is saying, but I think sometimes it's helpful members can actually do that themselves rather than be expected to be done to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. The leader has answered the question. Thank you.
Do we have a green hand up in
Green.
SG 28/15/11, Daventry Development Family. I believe you all have a copy of paperwork and books on the desk. Councillor Chandler.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Some members will remember the debate we had on this topic at Strategy Group in April. It was a full debate based on what I take the opportunity to say yet again was a very thorough and excellent piece of work by the officers that presented the information that we needed to discuss. And I'm glad that, following the point that Councillor Bunting made a few moments ago, that members have at least been given an opportunity to look at this the strategy group paper, because we felt this one was not important. Because of that, I do not intend to go through the paper again this evening, you'll be glad to know. I just want to underline the point that the recommendation are, there are two of them, that we enter into the agreement as described in the strategy group report, and that we call upon region and floor parish councils to allocate some of their SIL towards the project as a token practical demonstration of their commitment to it. This Daventry Development Link Road is of course crucial to the development of Daventry Town in particular, but the district as a whole, and it has been an administrative objective under various titles for very many years. Somebody said recently it was over 70, can't count 77 years. I can't speak for all of those. So I would encourage you to accept the recommendation so that we can establish the necessary agreement and framework to allow this project to go ahead. We are hoping that you will see some action on the ground before the end of this calendar year.
Do we have a second for this? Councillor James.
It's nice to be here tonight to deal with the problem in kicking man longer than I've been on that. In the work of success with you, that's quite novel there. I can't count the number of times that I've been stuck on the A45 in the car over many years. And always when one gets stuck on the A45, it's either on a very hot, sweltering day, or it's on a freezing cold, snowy night. So from the point of view of the road itself, the A45 A45 certainly needs a bypass around Floor. The second thing is this. There are risks involved with the project, but risk is something which can be assessed, quantified and minimised. And the officers have done an excellent job in offloading most of the risk and minimising that. The other aspect of risk is something which is slightly different, and that is uncertainty. Because whilst risk can be measured, quantified, assessed, whatever, uncertainty means anything can happen. Now, this project must go ahead, as far as I can see, otherwise a position of uncertainty will occur. And it will be uncertainty for both Daventry and the district itself. We understand that not all, should this road not go ahead, not all the homes in Daventry be built, that would have a knock-on effect on economic activity, which in turn, of course, would jeopardise much of our town centre vision too, because it would cast a shadow over it. And the other question is, we're not going to stop building houses, and if they can't be built in Daventry, they would be built elsewhere in the district. So that is a position which is totally uncertain, is open to speculation. But the risk aspects of the project can be quantified, and mostly have been offloaded. So I welcome this project both from a personal point of view and from a common sense business approach to it, and I'm happy to second the proposal.
We have some speakers. Councillor Long.
Thank you, Chairman. In my capacity as resource portfolio holder, I had a meeting first thing this morning with Simon Bowers as auditor to review the risks that this authority could be exposed to by progressing this recommendation. I do thank them both for that meeting at very short notice. Whilst no project is without risk, as my colleague has just said, it is my belief that officers have taken every precaution to mitigate the identified risk and to protect the interests of this council. From this standpoint, I see no reason not to agree with the recommendation. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron.
I raised in the strategy group where we first discussed this proposal concerns about using the new homes bonus, and we had a good discussion about it. Some of my concerns are still there. They're primarily the fact that I know government recommendation is for local authorities to consult with local communities on how many homes bonus should be spent. As far as I'm aware, we've never done that, and we're recognising in this report that it's a change of policy and diverting home bonus away from supporting core services to this specific project. So I just a question really, why haven't we consulted, and would the council have said that would be a good policy if it was government guidance? Thank you.
For your information, last month or beginning of the month, I can't remember, no, yet last week, at full council, at Northampton County Council, it was announced that was one of the big projects in the pipeline for the Northamptonshire County Council. So they support it, and Mr. Arca put that in one of his bulletin as very important for Northamptonshire. So when the County Council thinks something is important for Daventry, I think we should support it wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Paul's next.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have to concur with my colleague on the right and also Councillor Long. Much is mentioned of a Daventry link road or a floor bypass. Having said it at strategy, I'm not ashamed to mention it again. This is just not about Daventry, it's about the villages. Purely and simply because if we don't have the growth in Daventry, then the villages are open, as they've been for many years now, speculative developers coming in and absolutely ruining their villages. The addition of Micklewell in Daventry quite quite controversial, however, was reasonably far away from its nearest village, but moreover, the 5-year housing land supply prior to that meeting was 4.68. Added to that land supply was the 420 houses plus a couple of bits more from Micklewell, and our housing land supply went up to 5.94. That in itself sets an argument to protect the villages. But without the growth in Daventry and without the link road, those villages will still be under threat. So I would sincerely hope you agree the recommendation. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman. I want to give credit to Councillor Bunting actually, because she raised this earlier in the week about getting this paper to this council meeting, which is, I think, the right way to do it, because this is a very big decision for this council. Huge amount of forward investment built into it. I just want to say back to Councillor Campbell's point, new homes bonus is not a ring-fence grant, so we can do what we want with it. And the point is, I said earlier, we will try and do our best for that to benefit all the community. But this particular project is critical in two ways. One is it supports the growth of Daventry Town. The reason why we put the growth in Daventry Town is because you get thousands of houses, you get a lot more benefit out of that than putting 200 houses in each village in the district, where you won't get much benefit at all other than causing problems in those villages. So by having thousands of houses in Daventry, we get far more infrastructure benefit out of that for our Daventry Town, and we are creating a great vision in Daventry, which is still moving forward after all these years, despite the very deep recession we've been through. And it's been slower than we'd like, because obviously the recession has slowed things down. But I can assure you, we're doing very, very well compared to other places nationally. And we should always remember that people like this area because we're open for business. And because we're open for business, we attract more with investment, more jobs. And there's loads more jobs going into this area. And that's what we want to see continue. And also we're improving education facilities in this area, and that's got to continue. This road, this particular project, it's been around for 77 years, as Councillor Amos mentioned to me the other day, so it's a long, long time. And I can tell you now, Madam Chairman, the County Council have taken their decision on planning and their cabinet decision by July this year. And it's very, very important, obviously, that side of things goes through, so that's all part of the equation. But we have to do our bit, and our bit is actually to commit to our town and our villages and our district by this decision. I know the villages around the council meeting before recently, overall they're very, very happy about the fact they've been waiting for this road for so long, it actually is going to come. But the point is, if it doesn't come now, I don't think it will ever come. We're at the critical point where we have one opportunity to take this opportunity. All these years I've been a councillor, and your mother and your father, we need to life lesson, were always going on about the four-wheel bypass. We're now in a position, actually, not because of the four-wheel bypass, because we had the four-wheel bypass alone, we wouldn't get the funding for this road. The only reason we get the funding for this road is it's because it's linked to the growth of Daventry Town, and that's where people in Daventry Town will also reap the benefits of that increased housing growth by better facilities in the town in the long run. So this is a critical decision for this council to take. It's a big decision. I think I'm very reassured by Councillor Long, our resources portfolio holder, who I know is a man of detail. He's got a good financial brain, and I'm reassured by the fact he's satisfied with the risk factors involved. There's always risk in these things, Chairman. The other good thing is the government hasn't changed in the way, because we now have a Conservative government who actually brought new homes bonus in and support the growth agenda, so I hope that will stabilise things. But this is a big decision for the council, but one I think we should fully support, because it's got benefits all round, for both the rural areas and for the town, as explained by some of the previous speakers. So I fully support the recommendations, Chairman. Thank you.
Yes, I would just like to say I too have got huge concerns over using all the new homes bonus on this trunk road. I did query this at the strategy meeting and asked what would happen if the new homes bonus policy ceased. And it was advised that there are indications that there would be an alternative funding stream. Now, South Northants, as we know, is quite an affluent area, one of the highest ones in the country, and with their new homes bonus, they have agreed over the next 3 years to give their volunteer centre 60,000 every year. And what the volunteer centre is doing there is they will also still go out and seek extra funding. And if they find this extra funding, then they will not draw down that amount from the council. So to actually put the whole lot of our new homes bonus 0.4 billion into that, I totally, I can't support that. Not all of that, because if we don't get some serious funding in our volunteer centre, the whole thing is going to collapse. Every volunteer is used all across this district, and yes, there are grants, and I know how long actually Corella Davis spends filling out all these grant forms. It takes up nearly all of her time to try and get some grants. So if it was the case that actually we agreed to use 180,000 of that to volunteer centre over the next 3 years, then yes, I would be happy to support it. Thank you.
Chairman, can I just come on 2 points? First point is we're not using all our new homes bonus, which was a point we made at structure. I made the structure group. And the second point is that I also explained how we are shifting risk, or bulk of the risk, to the county council. So if this government stops new homes bonus, doesn't put anything back in its place, the risk will fall on the county council to repay their debt, not district council.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and congratulations on your high office. I'd just like to have my support to the report, as has been stated, for 77 years. I can actually remember 45 years ago being stuck in the 45 at the floor on a double-decker bus, and we used to have double-decker buses for 6 hours because the motorway was closed. It was my first sight of floor. I never moved there, I was staying a week. But anyway, that's another devil village, I'm sure Ronnie will take me up on that. What we have here is priorities from the village and priorities from the town overlapping. And without this road, there won't be any more money coming in new homes, bonus or community infrastructure levy into the town, because you won't have the houses built. Because without this road, no new houses in Daventry above what's already allocated. It protects the villages, and I thank the leader for coming down to Eden and Floor, because it caused a little bit of a stink when they saw that you wanted all of their community infrastructure levy, and I'm sure that they will contribute something towards it, because as at the meeting, the vast majority of residents were in favour of Eden. I wasn't at the Floor one, but I know Floor particularly want it. I would make the suggestion that, as Councillor Randall quite rightly said, South Northampton is an affluent council. Perhaps we ought to ask for a contribution from Hayford, because I've known it as the Floor bypass, the Weedon bypass, the Floor Weedon, the Hayford Floor and Weedon, and it still looks like a Hayford Floor and Weedon bypass to me, although Daventry would have some benefits. It'll be good for the economy of Daventry. It'll be good and an interesting time for the economy as a Floor and Weedon, because it will, obviously there'll be some opportunities arise on the high streets, and some changes and perhaps some more local employment within those two villages. And if I remember rightly, when the Chief Executive brought all these wonderful ideas in his strategic plan for the district, I said, well, if we got half of them done, it wouldn't be too bad. We actually must be well over half way. And if this comes off, a huge feather in the cap for the district. I have to say it's also been useful for County Council to listen to public opinion. There's been quite a number of consultation exercises. And Dodford was always, they saw the need for the bypass as such, but they were concerned about where it was coming. It was accommodated, the route was changed to accommodate them, and actually produced a cheaper proposal, which was, I was surprised that the County Council hadn't suggested that first, but overall I think it's win-win-win. And we can so easily cast doom and desertion, but in a few years' time, people will take back and say, yeah, that was the right decision, it was a good decision, and look at the opportunities, and etc. provided for the district as a whole.
I sit here and listen to Councillor Randall. I don't meet personally, Wendy, I'm sure you won't take it. But I don't give a damn where South Northampton spend their new homes bonus money. I do give a damn where this council spends part of its money. It's not just protecting the villages and putting the growth in Daventry. It's not just growth, it's the development of Daventry. It's more companies we want here. It's better facilities we want in Daventry. And we're not going to get them without this so-called bypass, this road. It's not just a road, it's the future of not only Daventry, but its district as well. So I'm sorry, Councillor Mantle, it's not just a road. And if you want finance for a particular sector, let's face it, the people out there, the strategy report went through in April. This was well before the election. They knew what this administration were going to do, what they were trying to do, and what County Council wanted to do. And we stood for it. And we gained extra councillors because of it. Now, I'm sorry, Councillor Randall, I do like you an awful lot, but I do like to have a bit of a dig on politics now and again. Sorry, Chairman, I support it completely.
Yeah, thank you much indeed, Chairman. I was going to rub that in actually, Councillor Osborne. The real point is actually that the serious point here is we're going to write off Hitford and also Dalford parishes who also will benefit to see if they want to make a contribution out of any future still money as community infrastructure levies. So it's not necessarily anything they're preset, not going to affect anything they currently have. This is purely about future money they may get out of future growth in their areas, and it's up to them if they want to make a gesture. Councillor Perry's quite right, I went along, they're asking for everything, but obviously we negotiated very quickly. All we're looking for really is a gesture, because obviously it's not going to make or break the deal, because we just want those communities to show their support. And I have to say, Councillor Randall, the bit about, you talked about the voluntary sector, that will be dealt with separately. It's not all the bonus, it's also community infrastructure money being used as well. So I think it's very important not to mislead people on that basis, because we have money in the pot, and whatever South Northampton do, one thing I can tell you is we have a cheaper council tax here than South Northampton do, and that applies to everybody who receives that council tax bill. So we do actually have added benefits. And any administration has to have a vision, and we've got a massive vision for the town, where long-term benefits will occur. And if you keep being negative all the time and talking the town down, I don't think that does anyone any good. And I have to say, that I'm not having to go at you, Wendy, because you actually have some good ideas sometimes. I think it's about really that you've got to be more positive about the long-term future of the town. So what I'm saying, Madam Chairman, is to just answer Councillor Randall's point. I just think we should support this and move on. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a point of clarification on Upper Hayford in particular. Upper Hayford is a parish meeting. I did a little research after the strategy briefing that the chair members wanted to talk to Upper Hayford, and therefore, under the SIL regulations, it won't receive the share of SIL itself. It will actually be received by South Northampton Council, who will have to spend it on behalf of that community. I have therefore written to the relevant director of South Northampton asking if they will make that commitment. I haven't yet received an answer.
You talk of the parish meeting that is still the village of Hayford, which is a parish council, I believe, is a much larger village than the lower part. They will have a direct benefit by not having so much traffic on the A45 that they can actually cross out. So I think there's still some merit. There's the Upper Hayford part and the Hayford village itself.
I'm happy to clarify, Chairman. I took the discussion at the strategy group to mean that members were talking about communities through whom the bypass road passed. The community through whom the bypass road passes are Reading, Floor and Upper Hayford, which is the parish meeting. If there's a desire that we go casting out wider, then clearly we can write to others, but I was simply seeking to follow the desire of members as a strategy as I understood it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted very briefly to clarify the position about the community infrastructure levy. The examination of our community infrastructure levy schedule has completed. We're awaiting a report from the inspector. If that report comes in on time, then we will be in a position to consider at the July Council whether or not we adopt SIL. We don't have to adopt it, So you need to bear in mind that the references to what we might do with SIL monies is dependent on us having adopted SIL at some stage.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd just like to say that I fully support the document actually in entirety. I mean, at the beginning of tonight, you quite clearly showed the history of Daventry. And I think what was brilliant about that was a period of history in the 1920s where when we didn't take a forward step, we clearly went backward for 15 years. We're at the size now and density as a town that we absolutely have to have this. I think Chris quite rightly illustrated that this is a crossroads, and I feel we have to take it at this point. If we delay now, it has an impact not only on businesses and people, but actually on some of the services that we want to help people out voluntarily wise. So I think that's the reason why I fully support it.
Any more speakers? In that case, can we have agreement on this recommendation?
Agreed.
Can I ask if there's any against?
Can I abstain, please?
Abstain. Next item is SG 29/50/01. Phoenix Youth Centre Extension and Enhancement Project Business Plan. Can I mention before we go into this that part of this was on pink papers? So if there's any questions that you want to ask that were on those pink papers, we will have to go into a closed session. In that case, can I have the proposal, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, we're talking about the Phoenix Youth Centre. This was fully discussed at the last strategy group meeting. At one point I was fully discussed and fully supported. And one point I'd like to make for all members is that at our strategy group meetings, although, yes, it is strategy group members who get the vote, all members can attend. They are council that does allow them to speak if they so wish. So there is an opportunity there. I'm not going to say you're going to be able to make it every time, but there is an opportunity to come along if you've got an interest in any of these subjects and speak your piece at that time. So I think that's worth mentioning. Now the Phoenix Youth Centre, it's one of the best youth centres in the county by its performance levels and its range of activities for all ages. It could be said in a way that the Phoenix Centre is a victim of its own success. There is a waiting list for its gymnastics section, quite a long waiting list, and that in itself is one of the best in the country. And there's more extra space needed for its many other activities. The recommendations for you are essential to be able to move this forward. And just briefly, that the Youth Centre Extension Project be approved for the purpose of financial reasons. That the Sport England grant is accepted. The capital programme is amended to include a budget of $625,000, and that if there are any further funds, they be incorporated at a later date within the capital programme if it is appropriate. I think it's worth reiterating that with the council leading the way, it makes the scheme eligible for VAT recovery. Council, this is our opportunity, and I stress this, our opportunity for members from all sides of this chamber to show our unanimous support, not only for the project, but for the centre itself, and all those that will be using the centre in the future. Let's not forget the future, because I think this will play an important part. I ask each and every one of you to show in favour of these recommendations. Thank you, Chair.
Do you have a second there? I'm not sure there was a second. Councillor Collins. Yes, thank you. have agreement then on these 4 recommendations?
Agreed.
The next item on the agenda is the review of the Constitution.
Thank you, Chairman. This is a monitoring officer report, and I can suggest, Chairman, that I propose it. Fine, secondly, maybe the monitoring officer report to the report. Thank you.
Can I have a second on that, please? Councillor Watson?
Chairman, I will just briefly outline what is, as established members will know, an annual review of the Constitution, which goes through a corporate governance committee process, and has come through suggestions from officers as well to lead to that. New members look forward to engagement on Constitution review, and I say it's a very exciting subject area, and your comments are most welcome. Pleased to see the new members of the Corporate Governance Committee, and we'll no doubt have some discussions on that. Relatively limited changes in the report, which I've summarised for you. They have been identified, for the most part, to corporate governance committees, as I say. They have been endorsed, for the most part. There was one particular point that needed some discussion, which I've given some detail on in the report, and that discussion was held with the Chairman of Corporate Governance Committee and the Strategic Planning Portfolio Holder, and I'm pleased to say that the change that's been proposed has been endorsed by the Chairman and the Portfolio Holder. So I hope you can take comfort from that. The changes, as I say, are summarised. The track change version of the Constitution was put in the members' room, so you could all read at your leisure and enjoy. And I thank you for proposing secondly.
Do we have agreement on that?
Agreed.
Next item is appointment of independent persons.
Thank you, Chairman. Again, it's a monitoring officer report. It's a very straightforward report, and I propose the Council reset and resolve advice. Thank you.
Do we have a second?
Chairman, thank you very much. Independent persons are part of our complaint handling arrangements for dealing with conduct issues with respect to members, but also newly, as I've indicated in the report, regulations are coming to force on the 11th of May in terms of disciplinary process in respect of the 3 statutory officers. So it's important, obviously, to have independent persons that can deal with that kind of potential business. I would suggest to you, hopefully, that primarily the business will be in respect of the members' code of conduct. We had a recruitment process. We had 10 inquiries. We had 4 good candidates. We had interviews of those 4, and the interviews were by myself and the existing independent person who we appointed before. I'm able to recommend these 2 people before you. It is council that agrees to the appointment, and clearly the point of bringing them forward, not to re-interview or anything like that, is simply to make sure there aren't any reasons why these people shouldn't be doing the role that they say, or we say they can do, and they say they are suitably equipped and qualified to do. So you've got their background in the papers for that particular reason. Thank you, Chairman.
Do we have agreement on that?
Agreed.
Item 19.